So Ken Carson, not even a month after Cardi dropped his long anticipated album Music, has decided to release his own project, More Chaos. Now I know this video is about Ken Carson's album, but I want to talk about Playboi Carti's music first, and you'll see why in a minute. It certainly had its ups and downs in terms of hit or misses. Some of the songs I liked I thought were fantastic, and others I thought were downright terrible. But at the end of the day, Music is an album where I could pull out a couple songs and add them to my playlist. But a huge criticism I have for Music is that a lot of the tracks don't have a lot of direction in them. They feel like glorified freestyles that don't go anywhere, and it's these songs that contribute to the album's blow the most. So Ken Carson looked at that and said to himself, what if I just made an entire album full of those type of songs, but even worse? This album is More Chaos, but it's not good chaos. And you could make the point of contention that More Chaos should sound very similar to A Great Chaos because that project worked for Ken. It officially took him out of the underground and put him in the mainstream spotlight. His fans enjoyed it, and it even attracted a larger group of music listeners who weren't all that familiar with Ken's music to tap in for the first time. But there's many other important aspects of this album that makes it feel significantly worse and a huge step down for Ken. The first are the beats, and this might be a pretty controversial take, but the beats on this project, in my opinion, blows ass. They're so repetitive and almost indistinguishable from each other. There's this 3-track run with each of them possessing a beat switch similar to Fighting My Demons and Sydney Sweeney, which is such a blatant attempt at attempting to recreate another viral hit. They feel like parody just by themselves. I don't mind beat switches in general, but only when both beats slap. It's why I don't like SS, because the second beat sucks. It's anticlimactic and completely nullifies all the momentum the first beat built, as Ken forgets what staying on tempo means. And what's interesting, or I guess not interesting in the case of More Chaos, is that the beat switches are barely even noticeable. During my first listen, I legit didn't even realize the instrumental had completely changed until Ken started rapping on the new instrumental with a new flow. And even then, does the track still sound the same as before due to a lack of variation in terms of synths and bass line. Most of the beats here have no lead melodies and are just shrouded in a cloud full of distorted mess that continues on and on throughout the project. The only beats I really liked off of this project was GHOUL, one of the best Pierre beats I've heard in a while thanks to its spooky synth leads, Trap Jump, which in my opinion has a better version of the instrumental from Radar on Music, and Lively. However, this perfectly transitions to my second biggest criticism for this album, being that Ken's performance is just too blasé for words. And it's not that I'm expecting Ken to deliver some crazy one-liners here, I am simply asking him to be entertaining. Take a song like Expose, which has this ultra distorted beat that sounds cool on first listen, however the song at no point makes any attempts to progress nor switch it up beyond what's presented in the first minute, and you just end up getting a track that just hangs there. Even if that issue is fixed by introducing another beat to the equation, it fails to provide any novelty to the song. This album to me shares more similarities with X rather than The Great Chaos, because that project also has a boatload of songs where Ken is just rambling on and on with an incoherent flow. But More Chaos can't even touch the levels of X. On X, you're getting consecutive songs that feel like a nothing burger. On More Chaos, you're also getting consecutive songs that feel like a nothing burger, but on top of that, you have these crazy loud and distorted beats that make the song sound more edgy and hard to listen to than they should be. Some additional notes I have for each song: I think Lord of Chaos is an okay intro. It feels vibrant and the song actually feels like it has a reason to exist. It's meant to be a mood establisher, and the beat with the electronic synths bouncing back and forth certainly supplements this hype energy. Off the Meter, which is the bonus track at the end of the album, isn't too bad either. The beat on this song for once doesn't sound like a bass boosted compilation. It actually reminds me of the Project X era of Ken. Even his voice sounds different from the rest of the album. I feel like this could be a song that's recorded years ago and just hasn't seen the light of day until now. Neither Destroy Lonely nor Playboi Carti deliver anything interesting on the feature end of things, but because this track is so drastically different from the others, it's gonna be my favorite song on the album. Deciding what's the worst song on the album should have been a challenge given that the bulk of this album is just generic rage garbage, but Ken has made it easy for me to give this award to 200 Cash. I know I just complained about how long many of the songs are on this album, but this track is straight up faded. Ken sounds barely awake on the song, the mix in terms of volume is uneven, either the beat is too quiet or too loud on that song. Other lowlights on this album are Confetti, where the bass line is hurting my ears as Ken has zero flow on that track whatsoever. You have monotone songs like K-Hole, Inferno, etc. Down to Earth is a pitiful love song that left me kind of worried about the girl Ken is referencing to on that song. Lots of people like the song Kryptonite, and I don't like it at all. I think Ken's ambient singing is just so passionless, it sounds like something from genre Sad Boy. Guys, believe me, I really went into this project hoping that I would get better. I anticipated that this is gonna be somewhat okay or mediocre compared to A Great Chaos. But to me, More Chaos is Ken laying it all on the line and refusing to try. Him saying, I'm just not gonna give a fuck as to how this project is gonna sound front to back. So if you're not gonna put any effort into a project, why are you taking 2 years to drop an album full of songs that sound like they took 2 hours to make? It's less grandiose in terms of the sound, as many of the beats feel similar to each other, like I've said before, and this album overall just sounds less ambitious. It's just 22 tracks where, if you exclude the bonus tracks, are just glorified freestyles paired with the most obnoxious in-your-face instrumentals. Occasionally you do get a song with an actual hook, but even they barely resemble one due to how forgettable it's written, which is why I'm giving this project a 2 to a 3. I think this is Ken Carson's worst project by far.